Today on Yellowstone Teton's Travel Podcast.
They pulled the guns out. It was a red Chevy S10 with tinted windows. We were fishing this bank right next to the road at the end of the canyon, and somehow this car got by, and the guy said, "Justin, turn the boat. I need to get a clean shot." And he's pulling out this M4 and racking it, and I'm thinking, I almost pooped my pants. I thought, it's going to go down. They were chattering on radios and like some cool space phone, all in code, red eagle blue, sniper 9 coming in left side south.
Justin Hayes on one of his craziest guide trips ever, cutthroat trout, salmonflies, twitching, and the Secret Service today on Traveled. Welcome to Traveled, where it's all about the journey we are all on in fly fishing and in life. This is our chance to take a deep dive into a specific area around the country so you have a better feel for the people, the resources, and community that make this part of the country so unique. Before we jump into it with our guest, we want to share the love with our Traveled sponsor. This podcast is powered by Swing Outdoors and the Wet Fly Swing podcast and Yellowstone Teton territory. Head over to wetflyswing.com/Teton right now. That's Teton. And if you get a chance to take a look and check out all the resources, lodges, hotels, food, businesses, anything there you can support, you are supporting this podcast at the same time. This week, Justin takes us into the South Fork of the Snake River and some of the favorite hatches and some of his best pro tips today. We break down the river step by step. We talk about the best sections to fish. We get into techniques and all of the above. Justin has one of the great lodges on the river, and he is just was a great guest. I'm excited to share this one with you today because Justin he's got that passion, that visceral stuff that you're going to hear in a little bit. So time to experience the road less traveled. Here we go. Justin Hayes from the Lodge at Palisades Creek. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this with you today. I feel pretty lucky.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is going to be fun. I think like a lot of these things, sometimes it's a little bit of a time challenge to get because we got all this going. And I'm just guessing you're probably pretty busy because it's July now. We're going into, we're in the summer. It's probably pretty busy out there. So we're going to talk about everything you have going. You've got this lodge, which I know has won awards. So you've got some good stuff going behind you. And you're in one of these places which is known around the country, around the world as, it's one of the meccas for trout. So we're going to talk trout. We're going to talk South Fork. We're going to dig into it. But before we get into all that, take us back real quick to fly fishing. How did you first get into this? What was your first memory? And then how did you take it into running a lodge there?
Okay, so that's an hour right there.
All right.
We can talk about, but I'll surmise it into a 2-minute deal.
All right.
I was born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We fished the lakes there growing up for walleye, and pike and bass. And my family was in the restaurant business. And essentially, I graduated from high school, got a job in Yellowstone National Park that summer, got turned on to mountains, to fly fishing, backpacking, hiking. Went to college in Wisconsin, got a degree in hotel restaurant management, and ended up coming to Jackson Hole. I was a chef for many years, and I had a mentor, this guy by the name of Brad Sutton. And Brad's actually, he's across the street right now. This was 35 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he took me under his wing and was an avid fisherman and hunter and showed me the way. And my first memory fly fishing on the South Fork of the Snake was with him standing in hip deep water in a raft that we had to blow up and deflate every time we put on and took off the river. And it was then, and I remember it as I'm visioning it right now when I'm talking to you, Dave, standing in that river waist deep, casting to rising cutthroat trout. They were everywhere besides us, behind us, in front of us. They were actually taking refuge behind our legs.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, this is it. This is my path. This is where I want to be for the rest of my life. And
amazing.
Slowly but surely, that transpired. I was a chef for many years, as I mentioned, and moved to the front of the house, opened some restaurants in the area, somewhere during that part of my journey, one of my waiter buddies, Dean Burton, used to come in from guiding, and he'd wait tables at night, and he always had $100 bill in his pocket.
Nice.
And I was like, man, I want to do that. So I was able to. In 1998, I was hired by the Lodge At Palisades Creek here to be a fishing guide. And I was, over the course of 12 years, I dabbled in a little bit of stuff here and there. And then in 2010, the owner, Marshall Geller, called me up and said, Justin, the guy that's managing the lodge now, Stan Klassen's retiring. Your peers are putting your name in the hat to be the next manager.
Wow.
And I was so incredibly flattered. It was an opportunity of a lifetime. And I said, yes, sir. And that was, like I say, 14 years ago. And we've grown this little baby and instilled a culture here that I like to think that our guests sense the staff's enthusiasm here, and it kind of circles into a big, huge positive experience, both for the crew here and for our guests. And our relationship with Orvis has really helped us grow and dot our I's and cross our T's and offer an exceptional product.
Right.
That's a short story.
No, that's cool. That is a good short story. And I love the Orvis. That's always good to get that connection. We've talked a little bit about that over the years. I think that's one of those things that having Orvis, right, involved is that they're kind of like another mentor, right? Like, is that kind of how that works, where they can help you, or maybe you need help to make sure this is the top of the line?
Yes, 100% spot on. We work with a liaison, Tom Evenson, who they come vet us every couple of years, and he has given me so many great insights. And if there's any lodge or outfitters out there that are struggling with their concept, Orvis, for the nominal fee they ask to be an endorsed partner, provides so much support on every aspect. They have a wealth of knowledge from all the different lodges they deal with, and they've really helped us polish this baby.
Yep. That is really cool. No, I think I think the partnerships, the more you get into this stuff, I think that's what you realize just in business or life. I think that's the successful people are probably the ones that are putting themselves around those people that are either ahead of them, right, or are good at showing them the way.
If you're not, you're making a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. You're just going to make mistakes. It's going to take you longer. So that's cool. So you mentioned West Slope Cutthroat and that experience, right? So you're on the water, and I've been there with West Slopes. I remember my first time catching one where you're just like, wow, these fish are they're amazing everywhere. They're on the dry. Is that still the thing when you take it to the Southfork? Is that still what it's like there? I'm not even sure, because I know there's ups and downs with populations. I know there's some things going on with removal of species. What's your take on that? Is West Slope Cutthroat still what it's all about for that river?
Well, we actually have a Yellowstone cutthroat here, just a little bit different, a little south of the West Slopers. Definitely still have them in the river. For me personally, that is the top of the mountain, casting a dry fly, floating along a grassy bank, and seeing that slow lumbering take, waiting a second for that fly to become submerged, setting the hook, touching, and you're in connection with that fish, the thing that we all as fly fishers crave and understand. Yes, the Yellowstone cutthroat are here. They are decreasing in numbers, and our rainbow trout and our hybrid rainbow cutbow are increasing in numbers. And as a result, the Idaho Fishing Game, under the will of the citizens of Idaho, are trying to help the Yellowstone cutthroat trout numbers rebound and increase. And right now, you can catch, keep, and kill all the rainbow and hybrid trout that you possibly can.
Wow.
And it's controversial, certainly. Right. They have even gone so far to pool funds with Trout Unlimited and Orvis and the Idaho Fishing Game license sales to put a bounty on rainbow and cutthroats. Wow. You catch one of those, they ask you to keep the fish, harvest it, bring the head in, and there is a number 2 size pencil lead chip in their snout. You can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
We have tried the guides, not all of ours, but all the guides have purchased numerous kind of metal detectors to determine
right.
rewards. And the rewards $50 to $1,000.
So 50,000. If you bring in a rainbow, you get $50
if it has the chip in the snout.
Oh, right. And there's a certain what percentage of those have a chip?
I believe it's about 20%.
Okay. So that's not bad. 20, the 80-20. Yeah. So you got a 20% chance.
Totally. And it's not just in the big ones. It's in the little ones too. It's in hybrids. It's in the pure rainbows.
Wow. This is kind of like I think it's kind of funny because the giveaway stuff we do on this podcast with trips, it's like people get a chance, right? It's kind of similar to that, right? It's like, wow, I got a chance. And the whole thing is incentivizing people to kill more fish to help recover.
This is true. Yes. As a Minnesotan, we like to smoke them. And my family likes to eat them. We allow our guests to bring 1 or 2 in. But I'll be honest with you, Dave. We're the outfitters are the ones that see these fish the most.
Right.
And we have failed the citizens of Idaho and the Idaho Fishing Game. Those guides are sickened by the thought they have to kill what they make their living off of. And I don't blame them.
Right, they're killing big rainbows, like because that's the thing, rainbows, and you're not talking browns, though. Are there browns there too?
We do have browns. They're not a problem.
Okay, they're not enough. So the rainbows. So and you have, I'm guessing, some big rainbows in there.
Oh, baby,
yeah, big like
we ever
monster?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. Is that literally you're talking to somebody, like some clients come in there and like, oh wow, I got a chance to catch a 25-inch rainbow, and now basically, and my guess is Yellowstone cutthroat don't get quite as big.
They don't. They still get big. We get 20-plusers all the time. Man, we had a one come off the river yesterday that was 28 inches. Put back in there, of course, all cutthroats get released. But yeah, we get some big jumping rainbows. Our guests have said, Justin, we don't know or care what color they are. I'm paying big bucks. I want to go home with some pictures and some memories.
Yep.
Don't kill that thing.
Yeah, that's it. I know. So that is the challenge. And that's a whole, like you said, that's a whole episode, probably multiple episodes to talk about that. But
yep.
Maybe we'll leave that. I think what we'll have to do is maybe leave that for a future episode to maybe bring on people that are, involved in that whole process. It sounds like Orvis and there's a bunch of people, but yeah, let's talk currently because we are actually going to be coming out there this fall. That's another cool thing, and we're going to be fishing it. We've got this is actually our Euro Nymphing School, which is kind of awesome because it's something that there's obviously a little controversy there too, even with the comp stuff. But a lot of people are into Euro nymphing, right? And so I just listened to our listeners on the podcast, and people are like, "Hey, we want to do this." So we're heading up there with Pete Erickson.
Oh,
and his team, right? And so we got
Such
this cool
guy.
Yeah, Pete's awesome, and we got this great crew. We got small little group. This is just kind of like a hosted trip. We've got 6 people that kind of paid to come on. We have one winner who won this massive giveaway. So we got these 7 people. We're going there, and we're going to be fishing the Southfork. So what I was hoping today was to dig into a little bit of the Southfork, so people, not only those that are on that trip, but the other people listening now that maybe are thinking about hitting the Southfork, if they can kind of have a roadmap to have some action. How's that sound to you?
Sounds great.
Perfect. Good. So, and I think obviously you guys, there's a lot of great resources out there. We've talked to a number of them, but I think that, after at the end of this, just that roadmap is a good chance for people to just, have a little more intel before they jump into it. So let's start. I always like to kind of start when I can at the circle through the year. So if we think about, we're coming up there, our plan is to come towards the end of the season, right? But let's think right now. So it's July, we're going to be August, it's summertime. When people are coming in now, is this, take us there. What is going on? I know there's a lot of different places to hit. What do you recommend if somebody says, hey, I want to go fish in the Southfork? What do you tell them?
Well, one of the major things that people have to realize is, we are just below Palisades Reservoir. It's a 26-mile reservoir. That Palisades Dam, completed in 1957, is there for flood control and agriculture. So we try to fill that reservoir to 100% in July 1st. This makes the releases during this time for agriculture high. It's difficult to wade fish this river right now. Anything, we're flowing at 13,200 cubic feet per second today. Anything below 6,000 CFS, the public can access the bottom of the river. Idaho has favorable laws for us fishermen, where the high water mark from one side to the other side of the river is public. And once you get in there, you can walk up and down and wade fish. That typically happens late fall, meaning October, after irrigation demand through the winter. This river is open all year round. This river is available for bait fishermen, spin fishermen, us fly fishermen, all year round as well, which makes it just so amazing. We have about 4,000 fish per mile right now. That fluctuates. It was 5,700 here a couple of years ago, but it's always 4,000 plus. So in the low flow, we're an amazing nymph fishery. In the spring, we use our worms and eggs. We just transitioned after a big, long winter out here and cool temperatures. We're just transitioning now to our dry flies, dry dropper. Typically, Dave, this is like, it's the 10th of July. This is like the bullseye for salmon flies.
Oh, it is. So this is usually salmon fly right now.
It is today. And maybe the guy, we had 12 boats go this morning. I'll get the report, eagerly waiting for the return. It's supposed to explode any second now.
Oh, wow.
We're looking for 56-degree water temps. We're there, but it just hasn't erupted yet. We've got PMDs, little pinkies. We've got a little size 8 size 16 Goldenstone. And then we have these number 2 Pteronarcis californica, these salmon flies, which are breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as you know.
Yep.
And they're moving. We're getting them on the nymphs really good right now. Of course, we're a drift fishery, so we're floating down the banks and trying to hit some deep runs, tucking our dry droppers, and we're doing a large salmonfly dry right now, hanging off probably 16 inches below. 2 little, either a Goldenstone nymph or a PMD nymph. I cast to some cutties eating some emerging PMDs 3 days ago, which just warms my heart watching these fish dart around just subsurface with the rocks below and that gin clear water.
Wow.
And the bugs are flying and emerging, and they specifically targeted this one part of that life cycle when they were just emerging into the surface film. Oh, it was beautiful.
Wow. And these were the Yellowstone cutties?
The Yellowstone cutties.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which are similar, are they very similar to the West Slope as far as their action?
They are. Yep. In cold water, like it is right now, they fight like all get out, splash around, jump. Cutties sometimes get a bad rap for being lazy or sluggish. Man, I've only seen that when the water gets really warm in late August in a low water year. But those, they tug now. Plus, in that current, bend that rod, baby. It's so awesome.
Right. Yeah, because the like you said, this is not small water. This is big. What would be what would be, say, October, early October? What would flows look like then?
Oh, anywhere between 6 and 3,000 CFS. By the end of October, we hit our winter flow target, and it's 900 CFS through the winter.
So and that's the cool thing about having the tailwater is that they can keep it standard, so it's not dropping down to 100.
You got it. We're fighting for even a couple more 100 CFS. Organizations like the Henry's Fork Foundation, the Southfork Initiative. We're really trying to work with ag. They've made some great progress up on the Henry's Fork, and we're hoping to kind of follow in their footsteps and work with ag. Certainly, you know what? We realize fighting isn't the solution.
Yeah,
but managing together and working together, we can make sure that those families get what they need, and us recreationals can get our side too.
Exactly. I think that's the thing that, I think we all are learning, right? And we all should learn. You look at the national politics and stuff, and it's like, man, this is a great example of a mini version, right? It's like if you're fighting ag against whoever, right, against the fishermen back and forth, I mean, it's just never going to be a win. And eventually the stuff goes into lawsuits, right? And then it's even worse.
Totally.
And that's the cool thing about what I'm hearing. And we had the Henry's Fork Foundation on. We did an episode with them. We'll put a link in the show notes to that. It was a great one. And that's the same thing we heard there is that, like, hey, we're working together. It's not perfect, but like that's the way we're going to get this done. So I think that's pretty cool to hear.
It's nice to know too. I think once you kind of take the armor off, there's a lot of people, farmers, if you will, people involved in ag, sprinklers, canal companies. They like to fish too.
Exactly.
And if we can approach the conversation in a non-threatening way, it can be a win-win for both, really. Just got to talk it out.
I agree. That's awesome.
And get science involved.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you definitely need the science. And I think the cool thing is that we don't know everything. So I think there's a lot of part of the discussion is that you learn stuff and you're like, oh, and they learn stuff. It's like, oh, okay, we could actually do this type of different water withdrawal and it actually maybe benefits us and benefits the fish. That's the tech stuff and the science that actually is the great part of it. It's
interesting to me how you said it. How little we actually really do know.
Yep.
My fishing guys, they're experts in their field and like to think they understand biology and life cycles. Sometimes I think once we present scientific information, we can guide them into a different way of thinking about the resource. You look about, what's happening in Yellowstone Lake with the lake trout invasion up there. And they're making great steps to get the cutthroat restored and the lake trout numbers reduced. And that fishery it's going to come back. But boy, did it cost a lot of money. Oof.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's some big bucks.
That's science.
Exactly.
We're learning.
Well, let's look at the, so you mentioned, and we're talking, obviously these are two things. We got the Henry's Fork, the Southfork snake. Let's bring it back because we've done a lot on the Henry's Fork. Take us to just the river, and again, somebody's brand new. They don't know this. Where does the Henry's Fork, how does it connect with the Southfork, and talk about that a little bit just to put us in perspective, and then where your lodge is.
Right. So the Snake River originates in southern Yellowstone National Park. It flows through Jackson Hole, about 47 miles. We've referred to that as the Upper Snake. It confluences with another trib called the Hoback and then flows through about 25 miles of the Snake River Canyon into Palisades Reservoir. And at that spot, it leaves Wyoming and enters Idaho. As the river comes out of Palisades Reservoir, we start to refer to it as the Southfork. Lots of people don't understand or know that the Henry's Fork originally was called the North Fork. And we are the South Fork. The South Fork flows for about 66 miles from Palisades Dam to the confluence with the Henry's Fork. And then that happens just above Idaho Falls, Idaho. And we refer to the river after that as the Main Snake.
Yeah, that's it. So that's a confluence. That's the big confluence.
Yep. Out to the ocean.
That's it. That's the cool thing, again, about this big picture thing, because you zoom in on where you guys are at, at the lodge, which is right at just north of Palisades, the actual town.
Yeah, we're just a little north of the town of Palisades. That's mostly comprised of people that work at the dam. We're 4 miles below Palisades Dam in the town of Irwin, which is in Swan Valley, Idaho, about 62 miles from Jackson Hole and 49 miles from Idaho Falls, Idaho.
Right. That's it. So it's cool because it's a big river. And even if you look bigger picture, I mean, the cool thing is, you start up in, Yellowstone National Park. It kind of flows out of this amazing place. And then, I mean, the Snake River is this massive river that flows through Idaho and eventually all the way out, into the Columbia. And we've done a lot of episodes up in the upper Columbia. I mean, it's just this, basically it's draining when you scan out in the U.S., it's draining like a whole northwestern part of the United States, essentially.
It really is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
this cool thing, and you guys are right on the cusp of the Continental Divide, right? How far is that? How far do you have to go? Again, for people that are new, maybe listening on this, how far to get over to the other side of the Continental Divide? Where is that?
The closest part probably of getting across the Continental Divide would be up at Henry's Lake, which is about a 2.5 hour drive. Reynolds Pass over there is on the divide. You also can access the divide down by Pinedale, Wyoming, and the Green River and South Pass down there. We're west slope. We're west facing.
So here's a question. This is just kind of a random question I just was thinking about. So the interesting thing is, steelhead is, we've done a lot of steelhead stuff, and, steelhead historically, I'm guessing, I don't even know, did they historically come up into that area, or were there natural barriers that maybe Idaho Falls was a natural falls or something?
Sure. It's actually Shoshone Falls.
Oh, Shoshone, right.
Is a natural barrier, kind of close to Twin Falls, Burley, Idaho, down there. So we never had
You never had them.
No, the ocean creatures.
You never had them. But the cool thing is well, and again, I don't know, but you've got the rainbows in there that were planted. That's the whole thing. They planted those back in the day just because, why not, right? The rainbows, plant them everywhere.
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got that. So we got a little bit on where you guys are at and your lodge. So if somebody was coming in here and they wanted to fish, let's just say they had a drift boat. Is there a big difference between, hey, I got a drift boat, I don't, on what parts of the river you would recommend they fish?
Certainly. I mean, number one, you want to have some experience on your drift boat. We don't have a lot of, class 5 rapids. We have none, but there's just a couple turns and some hydraulics and some bridges. You want to be proficient. We had 3 guys in a drift boat about a week ago. I don't know what happened. They just lost. They went into a great feeder diversion. Luckily, they were okay. The boat made it out.
Oh, wow.
But it was very dangerous. And I think by looking at a video, they got hung up tying or untangling something. Maybe an oar popped out of the oar lock. I saw a video of this incident. So if you've got some experience, a year of experience, and you can read water and you're wise and stay in the thalwag,
yep,
you can fish this river no problem.
Okay.
And there's plenty of fabulous camping, answering your question about the Southfork. We divide the river, the state does, from an outfitting perspective, into 5 sections. Each section is roughly 12 miles long. The upper first section has 5 access points, plenty of parking, plenty of shuttle companies, developed ramps. It's a great place to start fishing. It's a tamer flow, less bends. After that 12-mile first section there.
And is this, Justin, just to interrupt you, is this the upper, does that start at the base of Palisades?
Yes, it does.
Near the town of Palisades, or the little town there, yeah.
Yep, right
Okay.
there. There's a easy to find access point right at the dam. And in that upper section, we have this amazing waterfall called the Fall Creek Falls. Very popular, very scenic, fun to swim. It makes a lot of people's memories and their picture galleries for sure. The second and third sections, the next 24 miles after the first section, is our canyon section. And Dave, I can't wait for you to come out and see it. It is incredibly gorgeous. It is great fishing, no signs of humanity, no homes, no roads, killer campsites. That is regulated. They ask you to have a burn pan and a potty situation.
Sure.
But still free to camp. Just got to register. First come, first serve. And the fishing in these second and third sections, the river starts to braid more. There's more features, log jams. There's more drop-offs, undercut banks, grassy. And this is where the Salmonfly hatch is today.
All right. So that's it's moving its way. Is it moving its way upriver or down?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. On our system, generally speaking, because all this is part science, part myth, part,
Right.
it's about 4 miles a day. Generally, it moves up.
Oh, okay.
And it's moving a little slowly through the canyon this year, which is great. That's going to extend our opportunities fishing with big dry flies. And then the fourth section begins near the town of Ririe, and it goes another 12 miles and kind of enters this ag flat. You can't tell because the farmers have left the trees up, our amazing cottonwood galleries, some of the largest in the western United States, are in this section down here. Even more braiding, even more trash piles. Trash, of course, meaning not garbage, but stumps and wood and debris, all happy places for our trout friends. And it's fun to target these casts into these and behind these areas. It gets a little technical. It's fun to anticipate and see, there's a slot down here by this dead tree. There gotta be in there, and you lay your cast at the top of that lip.
And you're doing this as your drift is all out of the boat?
Totally. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There are islands and gravel bars to get on and do that type of fishing as well. But generally speaking, we stop a little bit here and there for lunches and let people walk around. But we're fishing out of the drift boat.
Yep. Yeah, you're out of the drift boat. This is cool.
Yeah.
So that's the three. So that's and I'm trying to figure out, like, just looking here. So when would the fourth section, what would be the nearest town to where that begins?
Yeah, that tends to start near Ririe, and then go down to the Lorenzo Bridge on Highway 20.
Right.
And just past the Lorenzo Bridge on that fifth section, which is only about 6 or 7 miles, Lorenzo to Manan. That's where the confluence with the Henrys happens.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of columnar basalt down there and lava.
Okay.
And kind of gets out into a desert right there. Still good fishing.
Right on. And I was looking at the map. I was like, okay, you got Yellowstone Bear World. That looks interesting.
I mean, I've got 2 kids, an 11 and 8-year-old. We do it every year because
really?
When can you go drive up to a bunch of bears and a bunch of cool elk? And it is kind of gimmicky, but it's really popular because you're not guaranteed to see animals if you go to Yellowstone. And this outfit allows you to feed these bears. They have these special trucks that elevate you and protect you.
Oh, wow.
It's cool to do once a year.
I have to add that I've been thinking maybe putting together a trip with the family and the kids, and I think that there's some cool stuff. This might have to be one of those destinations we swing by right off the highway, right off 20.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, if you come, how old are your kids?
9 and 11.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we got that. Yeah, so take them whitewater rafting for sure.
Yeah.
And you got to go check out Bear World. It's a great half-day thing. There's Heisey Hot Springs with zip line around here. Horseback tours go. Yeah.
That's the cool thing about what you realize. That I've been doing a lot of the Eastern Idaho stuff here, and I mean, it's cool because it's not just the fishing. I mean, and there is obviously some cool places, but all sorts of different stuff. It's really just outdoor. It's all these outdoor activities. It feels like it's pretty diverse. Is that how it feels like for you?
It sure is, man. It's always, a balance running this seasonal business through the summers, trying to get time off to do these amazing things with the wife and kids. And I'm taking more time at this window, as I think you probably know what I'm talking about. These are the golden years when the kids are still cool with being around the parents.
Yeah.
And, we are in a very family-driven community around here with the LDS population, and much to their incredible credit, they create opportunities for families to do all sorts of super fun stuff.
Yeah, right. That's it. God, it's so cool.
Let me know when you come out.
I will.
I got a list of cool things for you to do with the kids.
I'm gonna definitely hit you up, including I'll swing by the place and check in, but. So this is good. I love this. So we got a primer on the river, basically the area. So if we're thinking, I mean, all these look great. It sounds like the canyon. I mean, they all have their own cool parts of the float. What would be the place? And is there bank access? I mean, could people drive up and fish the river? Are people doing that?
There are some spots, and if you want to know those spots, they kind of vary with the flow. I would recommend you call our fly shop. We have two of them, one in Swan Valley and one up here in Irwin.
Oh, wow.
And there's some other great outfitters that fish these area rivers, the Teton, the Henrys, whether it be Henry's Fork Anglers, World Cast. There's some. Call the fly shop. They have the up to the minute beta on where to access on that day and that time. And there is limited access in the summer. When you come here in the October, you'll be like, Justin, there's tons of places to wait and walk around here. But the flows will be considerably less, and you'll be able to access that main channel.
Right, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the difference. So later in the season, when it gets down.
Certainly the upper section tends to offer more of those walk and wade opportunities, less in that 24-mile canyon section, which is broke up into 12 miles, of course, and more down low by Heisey for wading, Heisey Hot Springs in the town of Heisey.
Gotcha. And is there a place where people could go and just rent a raft or a drift boat if they're coming in there?
Yep. You can Google that. There's a couple of different places that rent those rafts and drift boats. So, yep. I don't know the number off the top of my head. But
yeah. I think I saw one of them out there. We'll put a link to those in the show notes as well. So this is good. So we got a little bit of opportunity. The Southfork Sink. And I mean, I'm just going to think of this as we're coming in on more of a guided trip because I think that'll be the best place because there's probably going to be some overlap here on, insects and things like that. But let's take it there. Let's start right now. So we got the stonefly hatch coming in. It seems like it's coming in a little bit later. Once it happens, how long does that thing hang around?
About 2 weeks. It's about a 2-week deal. Last year we had this. They were eating big bugs into September.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We have another hatch right after the Salmonfly hatch, which is a large, like number 4 Goldenstone. And they really target those Goldenstones hatch in the wee hours of the morning. Really nice to throw a big dry fly early in the morning. Our PMDM hatch picks up. Our Sally, which we used to call them Sallies, but now it's a Goldenstone. The Sally had a red butt on it. These aren't having red butts right now. Another interesting thing that I don't understand about the life of everything.
Right.
So as the summer progresses here, this is going to be the hot action for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then we enter hopper season.
Oh, and hoppers.
And our grasshoppers, another wonderful big dry fly, the Dave's hopper. There's a million different kinds, and they seem to get a little more favorable to one with a longer leg or a bigger hackle or something, again, that we can't quite understand. But hopper season's coming in August.
Wow.
We end August, the end of August, we start seeing cooler nights. In September, early September, we see snow periodically. It doesn't stick, but it cools things off. We get a mutant stonefly hatch. These stoneflies that can't fly, and we love to skitter those at sunrise across a flat or under a overhanging bush and twitch them out. Oh, it's an aggressive eat.
Wow.
And then we start kind of getting into our comparadons and our duns as September progresses, our blue-winged olives on cloudy days. For your listeners, a pro tip from us here is if you can somehow, and I know we don't have control of our schedules, but overcast days, low pressure systems in July and August cause things to pop.
Okay.
If you can get out there on a little rainy day and you got some gear you can wear, the fishing can oftentimes be exponentially better. We get locked into these high pressure systems and sunny for weeks.
Right.
And it makes it a little hard sometimes.
That's cool. All right. So you guys got it all going pretty much throughout all the summer. And then as you get into October, you start to lose some of the dries, right? But what are the ones in early October you might still have a chance at?
Yeah, sulfur duns, blue-winged olives. We still twitch hoppers out there. I didn't get into really talking about streamer and the streamer game, which is super effective. From an outfitting perspective, we don't often go the streamer route with dudes unless somebody rolls in and says, this is my game, this is what I do.
Right.
Then here we hand them a piece of meat and tied on to their OX and
have
them yank on it, and that's very effective.
Yeah, that's right. That's the Kelly Galp or whoever, right? There's lots of people, lots of big names with the streamer, and the reason that is that mainly it's just like any of the stuff streamers, you're probably not going to hook up into as many fish as you would a dry or nymphing.
Totally. And it's tricky to teach somebody who's fishing for 1 or 2 days. You just want to get them, throwing a nymph rig and not catch themselves and get that going. But certainly if people want to try, it's very effective. Interesting to me, Dave, young people are really into the streamer game. I think it's fabulous.
It is fabulous.
Yeah. And they eat them. October again is brown trout go into the spawn, and sometimes we target their aggression with streamers, and that's super effective. Collared up browns
Gotcha.
in low water. It's fun.
Today's episode is sponsored by Eastern Idaho's Yellowstone Teton Territory, Idaho's most renowned zone for fly fishing, from the Henry's Fork to the South Fork of the Snake and all the high alpine lakes and streams in between. Yellowstone Teton Territory provides anglers and other outdoor enthusiasts with all the information they need to plan their next big trip. You can visit wetflyswing.com/Teton right now to get the full list of outfitters, lodges, fly shops, and all kinds of inspiration to get you started on your next trip to Eastern Idaho. That's Teton, Teton, wetflyswing.com/Teton. Let's just take it again back on the water. So if we were out there, the Salmonflies are going and you're floating down the boat. Take us there. What does that look like? We put in on these floats. Take us to a day in the, a day or a half a day of floating. What does that feel like out there?
Sure. Yeah. So typically till noon can be slower. Once the heat, the sun comes up, the bugs, the rock walls, the grass dries off from the dew. That's when we see our adults starting to take flight. And, the cycle, they look for, a boy looks for a girl and a girl looks for a boy, and they do their thing in midair together. Lasts a few seconds, probably just like me.
Right, right, exactly.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, right.
But the trick to the Salmonfly thing is throwing a large dry fly on 2X underneath a bush or a tree and twitching it out and try to mimic the real life cycle of that adult Salmonfly that walked out of the bottom of the river, crawled up the bank onto a tree or onto a piece of grass, and they dry their wings off and fall into the river. And then they flutter and try to recover as they're going down the river, and to mimic that with a fly. Tight tucks. We tell people it needs to be 2 inches off the bank, not 5, not 1, 2 inches, and then twitch it out towards us, and it drives them nuts. And for so many of us dry fly fishermen, that target practice of getting it underneath there, side casting, in the air men's, if you can get that, and it's so rewarding to see that take. And they're in fast water too, along rock walls, and you want to get it right at that L of the water meeting the rock wall and drift right there. And you know what? We tell people you're going to lose some flies. This is you got to get in there. You got to twitch it too, and you got to manage your line and not have a ton of slack out there for the hook set.
How do you do that when so basically you got this wall, let's say you're coming down, you got this wall, and you get it as close as you can to the wall. I mean, you might even maybe touch the wall and bang it off and it drops right in front, sort of thing. Is that?
Exactly.
And then when you twitch it, describe the twitch, because I can imagine somebody twitching, they might be pulling it away from the wall. How do you do that right?
Exactly right. It's a process. The twitch can happen on a mend, or it can happen tight lined, but it has to be 2 inches. It moves and then it rests. 2 inches and rests.
Gotcha.
Or 3 inches, maybe.
To give them a chance to eat it.
Yep. They want to see it. They want to see it and think about it for 2 seconds and lazily come up and take it. It's not that super fast water. And that's, you just throw a mend in there and then either wiggle the tip of your rod. That's a great way to twitch as well. Just wiggle the top with a slow strip so you can bring in some of that slack. And then when the explosion happens, it's a lift and smile.
Right, lips and smile. And then what is talk about that with the Salmonfly? So this is going to be happening soon and over the next, actually probably by the time this episode goes live, the Salmonfly hatch might be over, but this will be out there for a while. So hopefully people will see this next year as well. But so when you get the take, talk about a little bit on first the fly. What fly would you recommend what do you guys like for that big Salmonfly?
Oh man, right now the guys are taking out of our fly bins water walkers, a fly kind of like a circus penis. We call it there's versions of the chubby Chernobyl with a wing case. Sometimes we trim that wing back. A lot of times, pro tip number 2 for you, my friend, and your listeners.
Let's hear it.
We carry Sharpies.
Oh yeah, the Sharpie.
Right? We'll Sharpie the bottom. We'll Sharpie the nylon wing cases with a little brown to distort the light a little bit. That helps tease them. We're throwing, what was that one I had yesterday? The name escapes me, but it's a water walker. It's a version of Chernobyl ant.
Okay.
Red bottoms, black bottoms, purple bottoms, copper kind of sparkly bottoms are working. Legs, twitch it.
And I'd imagine as you get into it, you got the Salmonflies, and then you swing into August and more terrestrials. I'd imagine some of those Salmonfly kind of match the grasshopper too, right? They could
certainly,
yeah,
certainly. Yep. There's a little shorter body on the grasshopper. That Goldenstone is a good kind of in between the Salmonfly and the hopper as well. Same thing with the Goldenstone. Cast in there tight, twitch it. Those flies, those larger Goldenstones and Salmonflies, if we have a foam body one, they're great for hanging our nymphs off of as the day progresses and maybe the surface action slows down a little bit in the evening. We'll put some PMDs, bead heads on there. The game changer for us these last couple, maybe 2 years has been the Perdigons.
Oh, really? Perdigon. So you're mixing in a little Euro.
Yeah, but we won't long line them like a Euro nymphing. We just hang them off of 4X from the bend of the hook.
Oh, from the bend. Yeah, just fishing your right off from a Salmonfly or a hopper.
Yep. Super effective. That fly has changed things. I'll tell you right now. It really super effective for us out here.
That's cool. Yeah, the Perdigon. That's awesome. So I wanted to chat on that a little bit too. So we got, and then you get into the like August and then September. You mentioned some of the bugs coming off. Remind us again on that. What were some of the flies? If you had a box you wanted to put together for like your kind of August, September, October dry fly box, what would be some of those?
Sure. August would definitely have an assortment of hoppers. It would have an assortment of ants, not a Chernobyl ant, but the little two ants in black. Root beer, little wing casing on them works. We also have, forgot about this, a great caddis hash, brown caddis. Throw those at elk hair works fine. Caddis pupa in the mornings on riffles, super effective. Then as August kind of moves on, we use smaller hoppers. Then we start getting into our sulfur duns, our comparadons in olive, brown, green. Green zebra midges work great as we kind of get into the colder temperatures of fall, and red zebra midges with a bead head on them. Super effective hanging those. And then our blue-winged olives are very popular as well. We always have PMDs. We always have, I mean into once it starts freezing at night, then they kind of wane for sure. And we get more to our sulfur duns and our blue-winged olives.
Okay. And then Caddis, are Caddis going strong? When do they stop?
Caddis probably start winding up mid-October. We get Caddis, there's a morning hatch. And I don't know the species off the top of my head. There's an evening hatch. Pro tip also for this river is for those of you that might visit and be do-it-yourselfers, put on later. This river empties at 5 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
When a lot of these folks, whether they're private or outfitters, try to fit another event in, whether go to a restaurant, visit somebody, yada, yada, yada. But you can have that river, even today, peak season, to yourself at 5 o'clock, and it doesn't get dark till 10.
Oh yeah.
That's a secret that when I hear people kind of frustrated at the traffic, which happens for a minute, just go later in the day. It's a whole nother experience.
Wow.
Yeah, and great fishing.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the great tips of the year for sure. That's a good one. So
remember that one. Yeah.
Good. All right. So we're doing good. We got some pro tips. We got the hatches going, and it sounds like, yeah, you guys kind of have everything. If we were coming there in early October, right around the corner, it's basically PMDs, BWOs, Caddis. I mean, you got all sorts of stuff still going, just not as thick as it might be in,
Correct.
Yeah. And then
gets to be more, what you'll see when you're hearing these lower flows, and as far as dry fishing, you get more selective. You float down the river slowly and see heads popping 200 yards down there, which is, I mean, I'm just thinking about this, words coming out of my mouth, and there's nothing knowing. This. There they are. They're eating. Let's feed one. And setting up your cast and getting the angle of boat just right, thinking about the wind and the sun angle, and then you put it all together and the line goes tight. So you're going to have a blast when you're out here.
That's sweet. Yeah, that's the cool thing. I think we've got kind of going to be, the dry fly is going to be actually kind of the bonus, because we're, focusing on this Euro Nymphing, school sort of thing, but really I think there will be some opportunities to do some other stuff.
The same thing with the Euro Nymphing. You'll be able to target your water, see the flow, really structure your cast and your presentation to be really effective.
Okay. And what's that look like for you? So you mentioned the streamers. What does that look like for nymphing when you guys are you still doing, is that like 80% of your time is nymphing, or is it like 50-50 dries nymphs? And you got the dry dropper too, so that's kind of a mix too.
For sure. This depends on the angler. If you got a brand new 12-year-old kid out there, you're throwing a hopper and dangling off 2 nymphs beneath that. If you have a technical person that's more experienced and can cast 2 small dry flies or 1 small blue-winged olive or sulfur comparadon or something like that, and see it too, by the way, we'll cater to that person's abilities and their expectations. Some people are like, I don't care how many fish I catch, I just want a big one. Or I don't care about a big one, I just want to bend the rod all day. So we kind of do different techniques to accomplish those.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
And streamer fishing is good too.
Yeah. So that's what, the Southfork of the Snake, for you, and I've asked this before to some of our other guests, but what is it, that makes it special to you, like this area? It seems like you got everything from the fishing perspective. What keeps you coming back on that area?
Knowing that they're there always and they're willing to eat. I just have to crack the code. I have, Dave, I got memories from my childhood. I never thought I'd be one of these guys that, back in the day. But I'll be 55 this summer. Wow. And I can't believe it either. And I started fishing this river, when I was about 19 years old. And I just have all these memories of, this is where that one time when we caught the big one. This is where we missed the big one on the neck. This is the waterfalls that we all jumped and swam. There's so many fabulous memories, and I'm still making them there. The eagles, the ruralness, the wildness of the river. There really isn't a lot of development on this river. You get solitude and peace, and the zen that I talk about with our guests of being in the moment when you're out on that river or any river. As if you can turn your phone off, you can't do anything about yesterday. You can't do anything about tomorrow. All you can do is be right there in that moment. And friend, I'm addicted to it. And I'm lucky enough to make a living trying to get people in that place and space.
That is cool. Yeah. The canyon always brings it back to me whenever I hear River Canyon. I think, yep, okay, there's not going to be any cell. So the River Canyon section 2, and where is the put in? Is there, what's the main put in for that one?
The big one is at Conant. Conant has a large developed parking area, porta potties. It's got a raft launch as well as a drift boat. And a jet boat launch too. We allow jet boats on this river, and they're part of the deal. Idaho is a strong lobby with motorized boat usage, and they're out there as well. And Yeah. So Conant's the one you put in. There's a access in the middle of the canyon, 12 miles down, called Fulmer, or we call it Cottonwood. It has two names. And that's a long dirt road drive to access, but we use it every single day, as others do as well. And then you take out at Byington. That's another
Byington.
Byington,
Byington. Okay, cool. And then
fully developed.
And then when you're in that section, is that most people are they camping in there? Or are they floating through? What are they doing?
Half and half. There are tons of public access, designated campsites. There's an outfitter bank down there, we call it, where all of us 7 outfitters that hold the 8 permits for this river, we have overnight camp set up. The Lodge at Palisades doesn't. We don't have an overnight camp set up because we have one on the river in Irwin. It just has log cabins, flushing toilets, a killer restaurant, 22 acres, a pond.
Wow.
So we've talked about putting a overnight camp up, and we've asked our guests about us, and they look at me and say, why would we want to stay in a tent and poop in a bucket when we're right here?
Right. That's it.
I understand.
Yeah, gotcha. So pretty much, yeah, you got it all. You can do the overnight camping. And this is the kind of question, I was on a river trip, and I won't mention the name or the outfitter stuff, but I mean, like river etiquette, we definitely had an experience that really made one of our days a little rough. And it was basically some pressure, it was like we were camped at a spot and we thought we were good. And then throughout the day, multiple people came in, like we're walking through the camp, hanging out in our camp, kind of trying to hold the camp for the next day. We didn't even know if we were sticking around, but it was just this thing, like it was this really aggressive, and they were outfitters.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
You know what I mean? They were outfitters, and it was just like this whole thing. And I had my family there. And, so what's your take on that? Like etiquette? I mean, where do you even start when somebody, I mean, how do you guys do it? Like, that's the thing when it's, I guess when there's a lot of people on the river.
We have that situation for just a tiny window, and it's over July 4th weekend. Other than that, like I said, there are designated campsites with signs right on the river, easy to access. Maps are available. You are asked to use these sites. Most of the canyon section where camping happens is on BLM or National Forest land. I've heard of these challenges that you mentioned during this particular weekend. Fortunately, there are islands that do not have designated campsites on that you're welcome to use. There are more spots generally as you go down. I think for the most part, the people that take the time and energy to get to this river to overnight camp have a sense of etiquette. It's unfortunate to see the load of garbage the BLM periodically brings out as they clean these campsites out. It's really mind-boggling to me how people do this, but it's becoming less and less common. And there is talk, and I do believe here soon, there will be a small fee and reservation system on the internet for BLM Forest Service to manage these campers. Etiquette, it's what makes the experience for everybody. Respect, space. We have as I mentioned earlier, a designated spot the outfitters use. It's away from, I think it's pretty clear to any non-outfitting person, a private person, that these campsites are for particular use for a particular group of people. And there's wonderful campsites all up and down the river on both sides. And if you don't find the one you want, you will find one. And in a 911, oh my gosh, it's getting dark and we don't have a spot. There's islands. There's plenty of flat access, plenty of public flat access. And I think if you're cool and you pick up your stuff, if for somehow you do end up on private land accidentally, that landowner, would appreciate just the leaving no trace and wouldn't hassle you off and at this, I know there's problems, I'm sure, with, drinking and people being stupid, but it really doesn't make up, this is not the underlying issue. It happens here and there, but
not that big
there's
of a
plenty
deal.
of room.
Yeah, and I agree. I think part of our struggle was that we were actually on 4th of July weekend too, which it was our first time doing this section on 4th of July. Typically we don't, and we just did it because it worked out. And I think we were in an area of the river that was kind of one of those busy areas. So, but no, I think that's a good take. I like how you said it. I mean, basically there's plenty of camps. If you don't find, if the one you want is taken, I mean, there's going to be another one.
There's going to be another one. And if it gets late at night and there's one group of say 4 or 6 people, I'm certain if you walked up with a smile and a cold beer and said, "Can we go down behind those trees past you?" and there's an understanding.
That's
as long as you don't start lighting fireworks, shooting guns, pounding booze, and being a fool.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the awesome. Well, thanks for taking us down. And it's just interesting because, and I think there's different levels of this around the country. We've talked about some of this from, say, like the Salmon River in New York, where they're shoulder to shoulder fishing for steelhead or whatever, or salmon, and that everybody has the busy times of the year. But it's cool. I love that pro tip you gave us earlier that, you know what I mean? Get started later in the day and you're probably going to miss some crowds.
Guaranteed. It works every time.
Good. All right.
You'll avoid it.
Perfect. Well, so we talked a little bit about the river. Let's, the lodge itself. So your lodge, I think, has it won 2 of the Orvis Awards? Talk about that.
Yeah.
Like how did you guys, how did you get there where you're winning awards? And then also talk about if somebody wants to come with you and connect and maybe get a day or a week on the river with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, sure. So when I came on board, we had already won one in 2007, Orvis Fly Fishing Lodge of the Year. My goal was to win another one. It took 4 years to do that. We did that primarily by working with Orvis, like we talked earlier, and learning what other lodges do that's successful. Maybe one example would be, Dave, we used to, when I came on board, every morning the guides would pick out 30 flies and we put it on the guest bill. Well, you do that for 2 or 3 days and you got a bill for 120 flies and the guest checks out and says, where are my flies?
Right.
So we nixed that. And that was a great suggestion Orvis did. Let's not nickel and dime the people, include the cost in this stay. And every day our guides get to pick out 12 flies a day and they accumulate those over the years and seasons. And that works to provide them what they need. And the other thing with Orvis is they have a review system. And the more we got our guests to submit reviews and positive reviews, that really gets their attention. The other way to win that award with Orvis, if any of my Orvis endorsed peers are out there, is play nice with Orvis. Promote their products. Call and communicate with them. Special order things for your guests. Yeah, use them as a resource. They're there. I mean, and the cool thing about Orvis is I can call and talk to Perkins or Dave Perkins,
right,
or Simon, who I've been. They're very approachable. They're super supportive. They really want. It's a win-win for both of us when people have positive experience. So
yeah, it is.
That's how we won the award in 2014, and we're going for it again right now. We really want to try to.
Oh, nice.
It's been almost 10 years. We'd like to get that award, that acknowledgement, and it does. It's a nice breath of wind into our sails for sure.
That's perfect. Awesome. So if people want to come in, I guess, like you said, the tlapc.com, they can just check in there or send you an email directly. Absolutely.
They can call us, of course. We always like visiting with people so we can kind of get their idea and expectations into check, and we're always around. I've got a great young man, Shade, he's 30 years old. He's been with us. He's 15, worked every position. He's out there rowing the boat right now. He's our reservation guy. He's our fly shop purchaser. He's very knowledgeable in what's happening every single day as we put those 12 boats out, and the guides are in there chitter-chattering about what worked where and when. So we have up-to-the-minute knowledge. Our website's a great place to get an idea of what the lodge is like. We accommodate 26 people. We're all inclusive. We pride ourselves in being a second home to people. I've got an amazing staff, two great chefs that make delicious food, breakfast and dinner, unique small cabins. We have 13 cabins in different configurations for groups. One right on the river with a deck over the river.
Oh, wow.
Our A-frame, very, very popular, magical place to spend the evening having a cocktail before or after dinner.
Wow.
Fun party room. So we're available. We've got our website, of course, our email, as you may have mentioned earlier, my personal email. I'm always available to answer questions. And then Palisades at TLAPC.com. Get you into our reservation and special request department and answering questions kind of thing.
That's awesome. And like you said, you on the website, yeah, you have some resources, updates. You have a daily kind of what's going on fishing report. Is that kind of a weekly or monthly report?
Every Thursday, my good friend Chris Jensen, who's a father like you and I, of two beautiful kids, been a guide for us for many years, now has an SEO company, but he's out here fishing. His family's got a cabin on the river here, so he produces our fishing reports every Thursday. You can sign up for that on our website. We've got a newsletter sign up as well. We don't hammer people with that too much information. We just certainly don't sell that list to anybody, but it's a great way to know what's going on around here and when it's going on and what to expect.
That's it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's some killer resources. That's a good, whether people are going to be calling you or swinging by on their own, sounds like there's a ton of resources and yeah, this has been good. Anything else? I got a little random bonus segment. We're going to take us away here, but anything else on the fishing? Anything else you want to throw out there that we missed, or any other highlights throughout the year?
No, Dave, I feel like we kind of covered a lot of information fairly quickly. We want everybody to call us, whether you're staying with us or not. We want to promote fly fishing. It makes the world a better place. We've got an incredible resource here. It's not overused. It's something to share with everybody. You'll be a better person when you come out fly fishing on the Southfork of the Snake. Let us help you.
There you go. Perfect. And I'll mention that I think you guys had, was it the new fly fisher was out there? Did they do a kind of YouTube?
Yep. Mark Melnick did a couple episodes out here. I got another young man here right now from Cut Bow Media. He's making a YouTube video for us. So yeah, check out our YouTube channel. I've really learned that this is becoming a more and more common resource, even for older guys and girls.
It is. Yeah, I think YouTube's huge. This is it. So, all right, well, let's take it away here with a little bit of a random segment, and these are pretty easy ones. You've given us some pro tips already, but let's take it back. I'm always interested in the boats. So what's your boat, drift boat? I'm assuming is it all drift boats that you guys run?
Yeah. We run our outfit here kind of favors ClackaCrafts. They just have that warranty on the bottom. That boat flexes well. We've got the configuration now where you can put the cooler under the front seat, so it balances that boat. We like to use our wooden Sawyer oars. They're light and they float. 16 footers. Right. I just got a brand new one with 2 seats up front for my kids and a seat in the back for my wife. We've got a distribution center in Idaho Falls with every tool, part, piece, screw.
You do? That's right.
Huge.
Yeah, you have Idaho Falls. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the person, but yeah, there is a guy that's running the Idaho Falls for Clacka out there, right?
Yep. John Stenerson. The Hyde family makes drift boats in Idaho Falls too. They're fabulous boats, well made, well appointed, sturdy. Row legs. Those hides are slick on the water. They stay in one place pretty easy.
Totally. Yeah, I think it seems like it's almost the rod, the thing you hear so much about, like there isn't a bad rod, with all these different rods. They're all pretty much good. And drift boats seem to be the same way. I know I had an old drift boat back, I think it was like an 80s boat, but I used to run it and it was just not good. The design wasn't as good as the current. So I think they all tweaked their designs, but it feels like now they're all pretty amazing designs.
They are. They got dimples on the bottom. They channel the water from the back to the rower's seat underneath. It's interesting, the hydrodynamics that they've come up with, but they've made them very sturdy. We like low profile boats here to address the wind on an everyday guiding basis. Yeah. High siders. I got a couple of these guides that are truly amazing. They prefer a high side boat because they fish. I shouldn't probably, they'll flick me in the head for saying this, but a couple stud guides that fish these hydraulics and boils most of us avoid. These
Oh,
guys are deep nymphers. They tie their own very proprietary special nymphs, and man, they get them. That's where this big, huge cutty I mentioned to you yesterday came out of the river with one of my
gotcha.
high side boil guides.
Oh, wow. So that's the thing. So you got the low side, which is great for wind, or even what are the other, the pram type, not prams, but the low
Skiffs.
skiffs.
There's a skiff out there, a new skiff company up in Idaho Falls. Brandon Murphy, our good buddy from West Bank Anglers over in Jackson, he didn't start it. Carter's Anders kind of first put this boat on the water and got it famous, and now Brandon's doing it now out of Alpine. Low, simple, light, bathtub sit only boats. They work. Yep, they're great for outfitting in this area.
Yeah, they work. And part of it is, I think that's the big thing is, do you have a lot of white water that you're going through? Then you probably want to go with something with, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be higher sides, but like you're saying, the guys that are in that boils and whitewater, you definitely don't want a low-sided boat.
Yep. We don't, many of us stay away from anything that could be challenging, but there's a few guys, because they know we stay away from those points from a safety perspective. They'll go in there with their high sides and dangle and drop some nymphs in there, and they just get them. It takes a lot of talent and confidence and experience. And Josh Jablo and Buck Leonard, a couple of these guys that we have that have the experience and the knowledge to get them in there.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Do you like as far as rods and the line setup, do you like are you more like 4, 5, 6 weight? What's your weight?
Yep. I like 5, 6 weights for this area. The thing I've really got into is these 10 foots. It comes from mending with a nymph rig or a dry dropper rig. They get them in there. They lift that line a little easier. They cast higher in the drift boat to help alleviate dudes from the nervousness of hooking somebody. But yeah, primarily 5 and 6 weights. 6 weights. If you had one rod, it'd be a 6 weight.
6 weight. So, and you're saying six weight, 10-foot rod?
I'd probably say a 9. If you had to stick with one rod here, I'd go with a 9-foot 6 weight. You can throw a streamer. You can throw your double dry, your nymph rigs. You can throw some worms and some eggs if you need to. It's just, and a
good
big dry fly. And the wind, perfect, exactly right.
You guys get a little bit of wind out there
for sure. It's the deal. Yeah, especially with the reservoir and the cool water above us every morning. It's windy here. I'd love a 4 weight for right now in the afternoon. Oh, yeah, 4 weight, deep bend there, and the casting and it's a big river. You're gonna want to be proficient to 40 feet if you can, 30 feet, which is longer than most people think. It is. We don't do any 50, 60, none of that saltwater distance stuff. You just, with the current, you just don't get a drift.
Oh, right. You gotcha. Okay. And then, you mentioned the dry dropper. What's your typical just leader setup? Is that pretty standard? Like how long is that typically?
Yeah, we do probably, if you're a 9-foot rod, probably a 6 or 7 foot 2X leader to a big dry fly, and then 4X hanging off the bend of the hook to the nymphs.
That's it. Yep. And then you got your nymphs going down. Perfect. Yep. What is, so I'm just talking just generally on the area. I know you guys, sounds like you have some good food. What would be, if somebody's coming up to that area, some part of, eastern Idaho, is there a food, something you'd recommend if after a long day they swing by and catch some good food, that sort of thing?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, that's another segment. I'm a foodie, so I'm into that kind of thing. But we've got here in Swan Valley, we've got one particular restaurant, the Snake River Roadhouse. They do a great job. Pizzas, kind of a standard bar fare, quality, quick. You can eat inside, you can eat outside. Heisey Hot Springs has a Hot Springs golf course down in the Lower Canyon. They do great pizzas and sandwiches there. Simple food.
Perfect.
You jump over into Victor, about 30 miles from here, and there's all sorts of killer sushi, barbecue joints, Thai food. We're a bedroom community to Jackson Hole, 18 miles away.
Right.
In the valley right here where the lodge is, there's not a lot of options. Of course, we're available.
Oh, so you can stop in. So somebody can just stop in for dinner.
Well, I wouldn't say stop in because we have a set menu, a set number of guests. We like to get a day or two heads notice, but to call us up, we've got a great menu, great dining room deck, sit outside. We can be available certainly pre and post season more often than peak season when most of our chairs are full. Love to have you.
Okay.
Alpine,
Perfect.
Wyoming, on the other side of Palisades Reservoir, has some cool restaurants too. The Bull Moose,
Okay. Nice.
the Norwegian place. So
Yeah.
stick in my mind, a really cute place.
And you said foodie. What does that mean? You're a foodie. That mean you just you love food, or you're? I guess you have chefs that work for you too. So that's.
We do. Yep. I have been a chef many years.
Oh yeah, right.
As I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
worked with that's where I met Dick Cheney catering over in Jackson Hole.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And he's been here plenty.
No, oh that's right. He's a fly angler, right? Is that
passionate. Dick's
man, that's
big.
Right.
Yeah, he's super into it. Poor guy's not doing so good. We haven't seen him for a while, but I could tell you stories of when he was in office and we'd take him down the river and the debauchery of Secret Service helicopters and boats.
Oh wow! So you dealt with that. Dick's there.
Yeah.
What is that? Because we did one. I can't remember who it was. It was the company that took Obama out, right? On the sort of thing. And they remember them saying like they had to. Just the planning for it, right? I mean, you had to like lock down. I can't remember how. I think what happened is Obama didn't even do the trip because it became such a lockdown on the river.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, Dick was very firm to have the least amount of impact on the public as possible. They would stop up the boat ramp while he got his waders on and his buddies got in the boat. But we all made sure that it was as little impact on the public as possible. I was in a Secret Service boat most of those days.
No kidding.
We were 100 yards behind him, 100 yards above him. There was a photographer drift boat. There were sheriff jet boats around the corner out of sight that had attorneys and nurses and ammunition.
Right.
And, oh man.
So did you know, I mean, who was the one with your outfit leading up the main person in charge? Was that you or was it somebody else?
Back in those days, that was my guiding days. So Mike Bean was his guide, still is his guide. Saw Mike out on the river a couple of days ago. And he would coordinate what sections. That all had to be kept secret. We didn't know where we'd go until the morning we showed up. And everybody got their boat sniffed by a dog and went through. And, once you pass that thing, which happened every time, then you sit and wait. And then you head down the river and try to give him his space and his place. There was a lot of crazy stuff was going on in those days. The Iraq War, Georgia, remember, got invaded, the country one year, and he had to make a satellite phone call to the canyon.
Wow.
And they couldn't get a connection. And I believe it was the Navy was moving satellites so that we could get a better line of sight from his phone.
Cow.
I mean, and the stories go on and on. It's
amazing.
And the assets they would use, the people on horseback following us down the river that we never saw, dudes sitting on the bank in the middle of the canyon. There'd be some guy with a spin rod and 4 coolers and no boat, no nothing.
Right.
And you'd think, what is that? Oh, that's a guy. He's got guns and bullets and radios. And they all had code talk that they would talk about when a boat got too close or a car came on the road. I almost saw some folks get shot one time.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget it.
You saw guns drawn?
They pulled the guns out. It was a red Chevy S10 with tinted windows. We were fishing this bank right next to the road at the end of the canyon, and somehow this car got by, and the guy said, "Justin, turn the boat. I need to get a clean shot." And he's pulling out this M4 and racking it, and I'm thinking, I almost pooped my pants.
Holy crap.
It's going to go down.
This guy pulled out just this, whatever.
Small machine gun. Yeah, the small one. And if I don't know a ton about guns, but I'm sure it had a suppressor. They were chattering on radios and like some cool space phone, all in code. Red Eagle Blue, right. Sniper 9 coming in left side, south. We need They were freaking out. And I thought as soon as I hear him click that safety off, I was going to jump out the side of the boat and just hang on with one hand.
Right. Yeah, you're out of there.
Luckily, one of their Humvees came up and pushed that person along, and I'm certain it was just a nice family that saw 5 boats piled up on a bank and was wondering what was going on. But I remember the one guy in the back of my boat said to the guy in the front, take out the window first.
Oh my God.
And I'll take out the person or whatever, the subject or whatever it was. My heart just shot through the roof. But it all ended well.
Yeah, right. That's the story. Yeah. That's the crazy. When I hear that story, that is an amazing story. The thing I think about is like, wow, would I want to ever be at that level? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what would that be for you? Would you ever want to be at that? Like, there's lots of, yeah.
No, Dick didn't like it either. I was able to also go on some of his overnight trips and cook for he and his buddies.
Oh, wow.
And, I have a very memory burned in my brain. Late at night, everybody went to bed, and the vice president was sitting in his chair, staring at the fire. And right behind him was a very large Secret Service agent with his back to the vice president, staring out into complete darkness for an hour, looking for any threat.
Right.
And the amount of resources they had to keep the vice president safe and knowing what was going on, sending men to war at that point in time, it weighed heavily on him. I think a lot of people thought maybe he was made of steel. He's not. He's a family man, grandfather, and I know a different side of Vice President Cheney than I think a lot of people do. He is a conservationist. He's a passionate fly fisherman. He loves this resource. He's a Wyoming boy, a mountain guy, and he loves it out. He loves fly fishing and loves the resource.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think that's the thing that people don't realize is like, man, all those people, for the most part, they're taking one for their, for the country, right? I mean, they love the country. It's like, and I've just been kind of watching this documentary on Ben Franklin recently, and it's like, it's the same similar thing, man. When you hear the guy's life story, you realize like, oh my God, the guy didn't make all the right choices. Like nobody does, but he kept trying to improve himself, and I think that's, and for the country, again, like he did the things for, this country because we all love it, for the same stuff that we're talking about today, being able to have a free floating section with public lands, right? And be able to do that. I'm sure Cheney, I'm just guessing that he's all for that, right?
Dave, I think you're spot on. Yes. Yep. Tough decisions to make, tough when they influence so many others. But at the end of the day, I believe many of these people, like Cheney, they're not in it for themselves. They're looking for the greater good of our citizens. And I respect the guy for that. And Ben Franklin, too, frankly.
Right, exactly. Ben Franklin. It's shout out to Ken Burns, by the way. If people don't know about the Ken Burns documentaries, that guy has got some good ones out there. So cool, Justin. Well, I think I'll leave it there. I had a few more random, but I think I can't surpass the M4 and Dick Cheney. So I'm gonna leave it at that if that sounds good to you. And maybe we'll circle back around with you later this year after we get a chance to head your way.
Love it, Dave. Please reach out to me when you get out here. I appreciate the opportunity of being with you and talking to your listeners. Be well, everybody. Be well, Dave and family. And I look forward to putting some eyeballs on you this fall.
Justin Hayes on Traveled, part of the Wet Fly Swing podcast and Swing Outdoors. This podcast was supported by Eastern Idaho's Yellowstone Teton territory. You can support this podcast and Eastern Idaho by heading over to wetflyswing.com/Teton right now. That's Teton. And check in there with any of the brands, businesses there, and let them know you heard of us and them through this podcast. Don't forget to check in with me if you have any areas you'd like us to travel to in the future. You can send me an email anytime, dave@wetflyswing.com. If you're new and you are just listening in, and this is also a good way to check in if you have any other feedback as we move ahead. That is dave@wetflyswing.com. Would love to hear from you, especially if you've never checked in or it's been a little while. Before we get out of here, let's take a quick peek at we haven't done this in a little while, the Yellowstone Teton website. Let's do that really quick. I want to plug it in right now into wetflyswing.com/Teton. Let's see what we got here. Anything new has changed. Well, let's do something really quick. This is really cool because I know the Lodge at Palisades Creek, so we're just looking around. Where can you chill out this summer? That's the first question. That is a good question. I'm just looking at upcoming events, and there are some good events coming up here. Let's see here. I'm going to go into accommodations. I don't think we looked at accommodations. Let's do this. Accommodations, where wilderness meets happiness in Idaho. So it's broken down by all. We got Idaho Falls. We got Island Park. Everything's broken up. We talked about this before by different areas. Let's just start in Idaho Falls. Let's take a look at anything new that we haven't seen here in a little while. We got the Calamity Campground. We got some lodges, some hotels on here. We got the Hilton Garden Inn, and we got some RV parks. Let's take a look. I'm not sure if we've looked at Idaho Falls Luxury RV Park. Let's take a quick look. This is probably if you're traveling through, obviously through Idaho Falls, you need a place to stop. I'm going to take a look. Offers the largest pay full hookups in the region, high-speed Wi-Fi, located adjacent to the Snake River and convenient access to I-15 and Highway 20, secure gated. So this looks like if you need something right off the road, this is probably the place. I'm going to click on their website here. Idaho Falls Luxury RV Park. Yep, and they got everything, access, there's the river. They got their different, it's just basically a nice big RV park. There's some reviews here. Okay, good. So there's one. So if you got a big RV, you're looking for a place to stop into out there, that's one. Let's take a quick peek. What else do we have here? Buffalo Campground. Let's take a look at Box Canyon Campground. I know we haven't looked at that. This looks really cool. Okay. So this is... The Box Canyon Campground is situated on the canyon rim above Henry's Fork of the Snake River. There you go. On the canyon rim right above the Henry's Fork. That's pretty cool. There are 16 single and 2 double units, each having tenant camper pads, fire rings, grills, a picnic, campsites near the rim, shaded, lodgepole pine, Douglas fir. Okay, so this is really cool. I'm going to zoom in. Is there a website? There isn't a website. Oh, yeah, there is a website right here. I'm going to go to it. And it's the Forest Service. So Box Canyon, so USDA Forest Service. They've got some stuff at a glance, single site. There you go. So I'm on a Box Canyon Campground right above the Henry's Fork. Definitely a good place. Let's see, is it first come, first serve? I'm not sure on that. Ashton, Idaho is 27 miles south of Box Canyon Campground. So it looks like if you're near Ashton, this would be a good place to hit the forest, which again, this is what's cool about this. This is all forest land out there, which is nice. All right, I think I'm going to leave that there for now. That was a nice little RV, looking at some campgrounds. There's also on the website events calendar, lots of good stuff. And I think I'm going to leave it right there and let us get out of here. I don't want to take too much of your time. So next time you are looking to check out the Road Less Travel, stop in at Traveled here on the podcast anytime. And I appreciate you for checking in on the podcast today and look forward to catching up with you soon.